Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing part 2 of the VCF East 2022 swap meet haul. This one features no footage from the swap meet. If you want to see the actual experience of being there, check out part 1, link in the description. But for this part 2, we will be taking a look at, as you can see in my reflection on the screen, the haul in more detail, because I glossed over that pretty heavily in part 1 and promised a part 2, so here you go. I'm making this pretty quickly because I'm busy with school and I have other stuff planned, including, of course, finishing the Pentium 4 recapathon. It's not done, I have 2 more parts, so. And I got texted. That might happen a few times in this video, not sure. Anyways, let's get started with just what I'm going to do here. I'm going to go over each find and talk about what I've done with it since then, how it is doing, and of course we're starting with the 180C, as you can see in front of me right now. Still missing the left hinge cover for the foreseeable future because I'm not robbing one off of either of my other 100 series, but I have done some work on this. In part 1, you saw it boot up before I bought it, and the seller said he didn't recap the screen because he didn't have time, but it was working, and that's the main reason why I bought this, besides it being a 180C, is just because it is getting kind of hard to find one of these where the screen works enough that you can tell recapping it is going to be successful, because the cap juice can cause all sorts of problems internally inside the screen ribbons and stuff that just can't be fixed. And the screen has now been recapped. I did it myself, and I didn't take video on it because just way too many videos to make. I just didn't want to have another one on my list. But I do have some pictures. I'll put those up on screen right now. It was pretty nasty under those old caps, but I got it all fixed up, and damage was non-existent after I got everything cleaned up. And then the same day, after I put it back together and verified I hadn't killed it, the hard drive install crapped itself, and I had to reinstall from my Rascuzzy, but it did go successfully, and there's another notification. I told you there would be a few of those, maybe. Yeah, reinstall went fine, and the drive still works. It's been upgraded, too. It is a 320, megabyte drive from Toshiba, which is a good thing, because if it was a quantum drive, it would probably be dead within the week. But I did reformat the drive with silver lining as it wasn't recognized by Apple's utility because it wasn't a stock drive, so that's why you get the pop-up in that custom icon there. And, yep. Screen looks great. Before it was having, like, passive matrix artifacting when you open a window. I don't know how to describe it. Just go look up pictures of passive matrix screens and you'll see what I mean. It was having that even though this is an active screen. Now it's perfect and it works great. And it's got its stock RAM, 4 megabytes, not really enough, but it's better than nothing, and it claims the battery's charging. It's not. I took it out. It hadn't leaked or swelled at all, which is surprising, but I didn't want it to happen at all. About the Grouch. Yeah, I have a Grouch extension on here that just makes Oscar the Grouch pop out of the trash can when you, empty it. Anyways, I'm gonna keep these short for each machine since I have a... It does that every time, that's normal, I think. I'm gonna keep these short for each machine because I don't want to make this video too long. This is probably gonna be the longest one since I was doing the intro. Anyways, on to the 540C. Alright, here it is, and before I turn it on, it does have that chunk cracked there, unfortunately, and another crack around the back, and the display hinge standoffs are failing, so the housing's separating. Just par for the course with these, which is unfortunate. So you may ask, why did I pay $100 for sort of a beater machine like this? Well, first of all, despite its condition, it works perfectly. And it came with the charger Russ, 520 power. Why? Why? That's in permanent marker. I tried getting it off. It won't come off. So that's stuck there forever. Why would you do that? I don't know, but I can't complain because it came with it. Which, those chargers are stupidly difficult to find, and they use the weirdest plug. You'll never track one down. Your best bet is to either find one working and pay up for it, or find one dead, still pay up a ridiculous amount for it, for a dead charger, like maybe $10, $20, and then have to transplant the stupid plug onto a identical voltage charger, or recap it, which is impossible without destroying the case. I hate these chargers, but this one still works, so yeah. This PowerBook, again, I paid $100 for it. You may say that's a bit much for one that's cracked like this one is. Eventually, I'm just going to find a beater unit, not a beater unit, a parts unit that's in better condition. Once I find one cheap enough from like any 500 series that's like dead or untested or has some other issue like a smashed screen or something, I don't know. And then buy it and swap the case and part out the rest, but that's not going to be for a while because you can't really notice the cracks very well when you're looking at it and just using it. So, yeah, and it's got a good amount of RAM, too. It's got 20 megs, which is great because the RAM cards are just as proprietary and hard to find as the charger. So, having a decent amount in here already is great. The 100 series cards seem easier to find. Anyway, it is running 755, and yep, and it has RAM doubler installed, so that's 40 megs total. These can take up to 40 megs of physical RAM, but 20 is plenty for a system like this. And I love this thing. The keyboard on it isn't that great. I mean, it's okay, but I still prefer a modern laptop keyboard over it, which is a bit unusual, because usually I prefer the older keyboards. But this thing's awesome. Like, look at this, look at this. Let's see, do I actually have any on here? Let's see. I do, yay. This thing can decode MP3s. Let me show you this. This is really cool. This 040 is no slouch. For comparison, on the 180C, which has a 33 MHz 030 processor, it is a stuttery mess trying to decode MP3s with MPEG deck. It just goes like with the being the music, and the whole system locks up. I either have to wait for that stuttery song to finish, or hard reset it. It crashes hard. This is a 33 MHz as well, but it's an 040. Anyway, just a random song here. Look at this. Doesn't freeze. Although it definitely goes slower. Anyway. You can see there. Works great. The quality isn't that good. I think that's mostly due to the speakers. I might be wrong. I've heard great things about the speakers in these 500 series, but mine don't sound that good. That MP3 is a high quality MP3. It can decode them just fine. It just doesn't sound that great. Might be due to the program, the processor, or the speakers. Not sure. I'll have to plug in some headphones and see. That's just one of the fun things this thing could do. I really do like this system, and another reason why I bought it is because, again, I've mentioned all these things about the 500 series that are just difficult. The RAM, the stupid power supply. But now that I have a starting system, if I run into a cheap, untested 500 series on eBay or something, and I'm like, it would be fun to just get that and just see if it works. Now I can. Now I can, because I already have all this necessary to run one of these. Whereas otherwise it would be, okay, great, it's only like $30 that I can get this, but I have to pay like $50 for the charger, and it's just like, you see what I mean? Just having all the stuff necessary and a working unit to test parts with that runs great is awesome. And whenever someone starts rebuilding the batteries for these, none of the contacts are damaged. It's missing both batteries and covers, but it could run off batteries again, which is great. So, no complaints here. Love this system. I glossed over this one very heavily in part 1 because I wasn't recording when I bought it. But this is a PowerBook 5300C, Apple's notorious 1995 botched system. This PowerBook launched and it had a myriad of issues, mostly reliability, but also just all kinds of things. I want to go more detail into this thing's failure in a later video, but really, nowadays, if you can find one and it works, it isn't that bad. It's just a little slow. So, I like these just because of its history, and that was my cat. She rubbed up, there she goes again. Move your tail away from my very, like, this tripod. If I tap it just the slightest, you'll see it on the video, and my cat just decided to walk in. Well, one of them did. I have two. Anyways, with that interruption out of the way, I want to make a video on some point about why these failed so bad and just the funny story behind it, but I love these, and I have a CE. Well, I had a CE. I still do. Which was the top-of-the-line model, which had a faster processor and a higher-res screen than all the others. Yeah, last December, the left side hinge broke, not at the standoffs in here, at the standoff right here, and I closed it again because I wasn't at this house when it broke, and that ripped the display cable, which is one of the two things that makes the CE special, and it's unobtainium, so I haven't been able to find one yet. So I saw this at the swap meet. It had a busted hinge. Right side standoff was destroyed. Missing the port door. Most of them are. Battery had leaked. All the standard stuff that goes wrong with these, pretty much. And there goes another notification. It was untested. The guy was selling Unix stuff and just said he got in a lot of stuff and didn't have the means to test it. And I did. I had brought my charger with me because I had foreseen this exact thing happening because these PowerBooks used some weird chargers. And I plugged it in and it worked. It booted right up. So I picked it up with the intention of making it into a hybrid machine with the faster processor of the CE and its RAM upgrade because that CE had its RAM maxed out at 64 megs. And the unfortunately lower res screen of the C. And I did that, and there was a lot of broken plastic along the way, luckily all on the damaged display housing that I was going to replace anyway. And, yeah, it's plastic intact now. On my CE, it had suffered minor shipping damage, because it wasn't packed well, and there was a crack in chip right here. Now it doesn't have that anymore, because I just swapped this. The battery is leaking. I put it in here only when I'm using it because it isn't leaking very bad. And it feels like it's about to snap if you put pressure on this touchpad without it in. These weren't built very well. The keyboard also has less wear on it than my CEs. These keyboards get really stiff when they wear out and just kind of bad to type on. This one's still worn, so it's kind of bad to type on, but it isn't unbearable like the other one. And, yeah, that's about all there is to say about it. Oh yeah, one more thing. I didn't need to do this, but I recapped the DC power board. These have a power board. It's right here, and if it's not plugged in, it won't start. It requires that for filtering. It's a separate daughter board, and it has a load of surface mount cans on it. So, foreseeing an impending disaster in about 5 years down the line, I went ahead and preemptively recapped one of mine, the one out of the $10 parts unit, because that one had less mangled display contacts. Still, one of them's broken, so it wouldn't work on a battery, but it's just less bad, so I did that one, and it works still, so disaster averted. Still need to recap the charger, but I'll destroy it trying. Anyway, this, and my focus is hunting randomly. I love it when my camera does this. Please, September. Please come soon, September, so I can get a new iPhone. Please. Come on. Yeah, you're gonna have to deal with this. Okay, I think it stopped. It's now just out of focus. Oh, lovely. PowerBook 5300. I'm calling it the C/E 117. Anyway, I used a program that you saw that notice about Mac identifier to put that custom message up. And system profiler states 64 megs of memory installed, RAM doubled to 128 megs, and I've got speed doubler on here too to help with the sluggish 68K emulation performance of the 5300, which is why it felt so slow. Anyways, that's all for this machine. On to the next. Alright, here is the PowerMac G4. I glossed over this one too. The only reference is to the fact that I bought it, or I walked past it during an early recording and put some text up on screen, and you saw it in the trunk of my car later on in one of my last shots. So if you didn't watch that far into part 1 or haven't watched it at all, surprise! I would have been very angry if I walked away. I would have been very angry at myself if I walked away from that swap meet without at least one desktop, because I went there saying to myself, okay, you're going here to find stuff you can't ship in from eBay without getting damaged or paying ridiculous amounts for. Old beige Mac all-in-ones that cannot survive shipping. I didn't buy any of them. I saw a few, didn't see any at a good price that I wanted to pay. That's fine. I ended up walking away there with all laptops, but I managed to find one desktop, which is this G4. It is an original Sawtooth G4, 400 megahertz, and it was already outfitted with decent specs, gig and a half of RAM, upgraded Max Tor 60 gig hard drive. I threw a second drive in there. It's an unreliable junker Death Star drive, but whatever. It works. It's got OS 9 on it. I have this dual booted with Tiger and OS 9. And yeah, it works perfectly. I also threw an airport card in there that I got from a different parts machine I got off eBay. A iBook that came with a lot. Whatever. It has a DVD-ROM. Everything on it works. It's perfect. Bit scratched up. Nothing a bit of Brasso or Plastex or whatever won't fix. I have it on this lovely stool because I have no better place to put it. But yeah, it works great. Not much else to say about this one. I'm planning at some point to upgrade the bejesus out of it, but that probably won't be for a while. But I do like desktops. It's not just laptops with me. I just end up using laptops more because I can take them on the go. But yeah, just a nice Sawtooth G4, very clean on the inside. Only issue with it is that the speaker's busted. It's blown out. So, a few dollars on eBay at some point I'll get a replacement. But yeah, even has a good PRAM battery. Someone replaced it in 2016. Still holds a perfect charge. I'll change in a couple of years, but yeah. Nothing wrong with it. Only paid $40 for it. Love this thing. This next one is a mystery system. I believe I showed some footage of either me walking past it or me asking about it in part 1. I forget which one. I think I asked about it in part 1, but I didn't show me that I'd actually bought it in part 1. And it is... Dun 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 dun. Ugh. Oh my god. This beast right here. I don't care if you get my XP key. If you can somehow read that, even though it's out of focus and small, good on you. I don't care. I leave the battery out of it because it's pre-recall. Could blow up if I leave it in there. Don't want to do that. Oh man, but it does work. Behold, in all of its, and I do mean glory, the Dell Inspiron 9100. Ha ha! Can you tell I like this laptop? All the performance of a desktop in the convenient laptop form factor. Yeah. Why'd I buy this? I paid $40 for it. That's a really good price for one of these. They usually sell for $80 on eBay from the looks of it. I didn't check too thoroughly, but LGR made a video on one of these a couple years back, and my thoughts after watching that video were, I have no reason to own one. I have the same specs just in a desktop, in a few desktops. All my Pentium 4s are about this speed and performance. I don't need it in a laptop form factor. It's ridiculous. It'll cost me too much because it's too ridiculous to sell for cheap on eBay. I still really want one, but I'm not paying that much for one. And lo and behold, when I found one at the right place for cheap, working, I had to go for it. This thing weighs a ton. It's thicker, I think, even than my ThinkPad 385XD. It has double-decker ports on the back. They could fit full desktop ports on top of each other. It's got, I think it's a Prescott Pentium 4, 2.8 gigahertz, so not the fastest you could get. I think it's pretty base model, actually, but I don't care. It's got Wi-Fi at least. I don't care. I'm sure everything in this is socketed, including the graphics card. I could upgrade the crap out of this thing. I just need to track down some parts, and I'm probably going to do that at some point. But, yeah. I don't know exactly what Pentium 4 it has, because CPU-Z hangs the entire Windows Explorer when I try to open it for some reason on this, but the BIOS says 2.8 gigahertz, and so does Windows About. I've run all the XP updates, even unofficial Service Pack 4, just won't do it. Anyways, if you didn't know, I'm into PCs too, not just Macs. And yeah. So, pros, it's fast, it's got Wi-Fi, the battery has a built-in subwoofer. Yes, I did just say the battery. Cons, it weighs a ton, and said battery might explode. Alright. Seriously, the speakers in this sound great. It's a great music machine. Let me get something put on it. Gotta get Winamp, of course. I had to have Winamp. We're gonna get on our inner Hugh Jeffries here. That is awesome. I love this thing, and I also love my Snowy Winter Village wallpaper, if you couldn't tell from the fact that nearly all of my computers have it. Anyways, yeah, this is awesome and hilarious and stupid, and that's why I love it, and I'm really starting to sound like LGR. I gotta move on to the next machine. Alright, gotta defuse the bomb. Oh man. There's that battery subwoofer. I did show myself testing this one out and buying it on video. This is the D610. A much more reasonable laptop from a similar time, about a year after the 9100. Anyway, I'm currently powering it because I couldn't find my other Dell charger off the 9100 supply, which is equally as hilariously huge. This one also had its battery recalled. This one's battery does work, does hold a charge. It just took a few minutes leaving it plugged in and it started charging right up. Lasted about 45 minutes. And it was manufactured in 2007, so the owner of this D610 was actually responsible and sent for a new one when Dell recalled them, so I don't have to worry about this one catching fire. Anyways, I didn't have much reason to pick this up other than I just wanted this thing. I didn't need another XP laptop. I just have always liked this system. Michael MJD has one, he uses it a lot. That's not the reason I wanted one of these. The C610 was my first computer that I ever had, and this is sort of the spiritual successor of that one, and I just like the design of this thing, and I like Dell's laptops. They built them very well back then, and it's a good system for that era of performance. I had ThinkPads from that era too. I just prefer the Dells, honestly. Mainly because my ThinkPads are low end. But anyways, this one is not on a level surface. And it works fine, besides for, I'm sure you've probably noticed, these two artifacts in the screen pressure marks from something. Probably something got set on it down really hard and caused those, but oh well. This thing works perfectly. It was just missing a hard drive. Luckily I had a spare adapter that used like a edge connector, IDE adapter. I had a spare one, random hard drive I bought for something completely different a few months back, sometime last year, just came with one. So I just put it in my box knowing I'd need it someday, and lo and behold I did. 2 gigs of RAM, pretty good. And yeah, just a nice XP laptop that I only had to pay $10 for, so that was much appreciated. The free MacBook. In my first part of this series, of sorts, two-parter, I said, I tested it, it's dead. Yeah, this was in the free pile, and I said in the video, I had tested it, and it was dead, which makes sense. Why else would it be in the free pile? The power outlet I was using to test it was dead. The MacBook works fine. Mostly. It has 2 issues. One of them I've resolved already, and that was a missing drive. I bought a cheap $30 SSD off eBay, and that problem was solved. Second, the keyboard is screwy. Certain keys will just make multiple inputs, not in the way you'd expect. Delete key, for example. If I press it, it deletes and also turns the volume down. Volume down turns the volume down and also deletes. The space bar spaces and prints the slash key. Various issues like that all over the keyboard. I bought a new one off eBay, well, a whole top case because they're fused together, and it arrived DOA. Sent for replacement from the seller. Replacement also arrived DOA, got refunded, and now I have 2 DOA top cases. And a note to never buy from that eBay seller again, because they're junk. Both were damaged, too. The keyboards didn't work on them, obviously, but they also had cables damaged, so yeah, bad seller. I've ordered a new old stock one. When that eventually gets here, hopefully I'll have a fully functional MacBook. Anyway, it's very fast, and it is a 2010 model, the last of the white polycarbonate MacBooks, which is awesome. I've wanted one of these for a long time, and I'm so happy to have been able to find one free with just a couple minor issues. I've got it dual booted with Catalina and Mavericks, because it's mostly usable as long as I hook up an external keyboard. I can't just use it as is right now with the dual boot, because both Alt keys do multiple inputs and it causes the screen not to come up when I hold them down. I have to use an external keyboard for that. But yeah, it works perfectly. The battery in it is at excellent health. I think it's somewhere in the 80% range. High 80s, I think. Unfortunately, coconut battery just doesn't seem to be working right now. But yeah, the reason why I'm so glad it's a 2010 model is it's got the GeForce 320M graphics. The 2009 unibody polycarbonate MacBook only has integrated. Not much better, but I still like it. And I've run Catalina Patcher to get it on Catalina. At some point, I'm not sure. I might try to get Monterey on it. It'll run with Open Core Legacy Patcher. I just don't really need to. And there's coconut battery crashing. Lovely. Anyways, it works perfectly. It is super fast. And for free. And I also got the bottom case, which is notorious for going yellow. Very nice again, via a trick I saw in a Hugh Jeffries video. Yeah, 2 Hugh Jeffries references in one video. Can you believe that? Toothpaste. Toothpaste will fix all your sorrows with your teeth and the bottom rubber cases on your unibody polycarbonate MacBooks. It looks so much better now and it smells great. Mix of mint toothpaste and the soles of a new shoe. It really smells great. It is a bit warped though, but not bad. I haven't tested the optical drive yet, so I don't know if that works. Might be dead, but the fact that I haven't needed to test it yet shows that I don't really care if it's dead. So, yeah. Just great. Can't believe that. Free. Now this one just plain doesn't make any sense. Ta-da! This is my 2011 13-inch MacBook Pro. I paid $20 for this at the swap meet. $20. What? Yeah, $20. What was wrong with it? Nothing. It had been upgraded to. This has 8 gigs of RAM. Didn't come with that. This is a base model. It has the integrated graphics, which is a good thing in this case, because the dedicated ones used in this generation suck and are unreliable, and it would probably be dead if it had those. Just the integrated, so much less drama. And, yeah, base processor, that's fine. And SSD, it came with an SSD. Not a cheap one either. It's 256 gigs, so it's not the highest capacity, but it's a nice one. It's like a $50 one, not a $30 one. It's definitely got DRAM cache. It's super fast. It's a SanDisk. So why would they sell a computer with a $50 SSD for $20 to me? I have no idea why. It came with a charger too. The charger alone, someone could probably get $20 for to the right buyer. And the only thing wrong with it, they didn't tell me this, but I'll bet they just didn't test it, and I don't really care. As I stated earlier, the CD drive's dead. Don't really care about that. But yeah, $20, and it's in great shape too. Hardly a scratch on it. Maybe a couple dings at the corners of the display housing, but that's pretty standard for these. Like it's in really good shape, and on the inside it's good too. The battery works. Not the greatest health. It's at like 57%, but it works for $20. Why this would be $20, I don't know, but it is. And it came with High Sierra. I hacked Monterey straight onto it first thing with OpenCore Legacy Patcher. It runs excellently. It is super fast. It definitely beats out the crappy Chromebooks my school gives me. So, yeah, that's the haul. Well, mostly. There's one last thing, but I'm only going to mention at the end because it wasn't a good buy, but whatever. Yeah. I'm not going to complain. $20 for a great condition. The keyboard's worn out really bad, but $20! Alright, I gotta stop blabbing here. Last thing to mention here is, early, like in part 1, I had shown me talking to a seller of 2 ThinkPad T21s, and I wasn't sure about whether I buy them. I went back, and I was going to buy them, and then right in front of both of our eyes, the seller's and mine, same guy who sold me the 180C, the motherboard on the working one of the two crapped out and started throwing out BIOS checksum errors and quit booting. I bought them anyway, heavily discounted. They're in a drawer in parts right now. You can see their IBM stuff. There's one of the boards is right there. This is just the parts drawer. I put all my spare laptop parts in these drawers. The bottom one has my iBook parts. Look at all these iBook parts. I have so many of them. 2 dead boards, both with the same issue. The hard drive won't spin up if you plug them into these. Other than that, they work fine. Both post. Just won't spin up any hard drive. Spare working display. Even got a spare leaf in here. I know, that's like gold. I'm keeping these all. I'm not selling them. But, yeah. Wait, I got a spare speaker in one of these? I didn't know I had one of those. Anyway. Oh, come on, close. Anyway, I'm just going to keep them around. I paid like 15 or 20 bucks for them. I forget what. I think it was 15. I'm just going to wait, find a cheap parts unit that posts on eBay at some point, or a spare motherboard if someone starts selling one of those. Just play the waiting game, and eventually, once I have that, I'll have a good condition working T21. Just have to play the waiting game there. And anyways, that's going to be the end of this video. That was the entire haul. It was a great haul. I'm definitely going to try to make plans to go back next year for more. It's an amazing event, and I got all kinds of great stuff. The 180C was awesome. The $20 MacBook Pro was probably the best deal of all, and that's not even vintage. The 540C, the G4 tower, so much great stuff. Yeah, thank you all for watching. I'll see everyone later. Have a good day. I'm out. Bye.